Welcome to the Insurance Agents and Brokers Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the audio version of Coverage Corner. Coverage Corner is a monthly column in IA&B's Primary Agent magazine. The June 2026 column is entitled, Claims, to Report or Not to Report, by Bill Wilson. This issue's topic is primarily about whether an insured should report an auto claim if there are no injuries and not even any visible damage. At the end, an added bonus is an emerging reporting condition for auto coverage that seems to be gaining traction in the marketplace. Read on. Several years ago, my wife was exiting the expressway onto a local road. There was one car in front of her as she slowed almost to a stop before turning right onto the road. As she looked quickly to the left, there were no vehicles approaching as far as she could see. So, she kept coasting along the ramp as her head turned back to the direction in which she was traveling. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the vehicle in front of her had come to a complete stop even though there was only a yield, not a stop sign. She slammed on her brakes and came to a quick stop, but not before gently tapping the bumper of the other vehicle. She and the other driver exited their vehicles and examined the bumpers, unable to find even the slightest mark. So, my wife apologized, and they agreed to go on their way after exchanging contact information. Under local law, they had no obligation to report the incident to law enforcement. When she got home, she asked me if we should report the collision to our insurance company given that there was no damage or injury, and the other party just brushed off the entire affair. I explained this provision in our auto policy, duties after an accident or loss. We have no duty to provide coverage under this policy if the failure to comply with the following duties is prejudicial to us. We must be notified promptly of how, when, and where the accident or loss happened. Her response was, but there was no damage and nobody was hurt. I suggested that this reporting condition doesn't require that there be any damage or injury, only an accident. Her response was, but our insurance premium will go up. I advised that this was possible, but that it was also possible the other party might file a claim, and a premium increase would be the least of our worries if we had no coverage. So, we reported the incident. 3 days later, my wife got a call from the other driver. She said her husband took the car to a mechanic he knew and was told that the frame was bent, but it wasn't too bad, and they really didn't want to get insurance companies involved. So if we just gave them $300 for their trouble, they'd be fine with that. Instead, we again gave her the name of our insurance company, told her we had already reported the accident to them, and asked if her number was the one they should call because they'd want to have the car inspected as soon as possible. She said she'd ask her husband. We never heard from them again. We followed up with our insurer. The claim was closed, and we never got a premium increase. In fact, our premium went down upon renewal, though I'm pretty sure that it had nothing to do with this incident. If anyone asks me about reporting an auto accident involving potential liability, I tell them to do it. Damage isn't always immediately apparent to the typical consumer, especially with vehicles today that have numerous sensors, cameras, and other easily damaged equipment. Worse, injuries may not reveal themselves for days or weeks. Even worse, the other party may attempt to defraud you, and without promptly reporting an accident, you may be on your own with no assistance from your insurer. I believe everyone reading this would probably agree with that approach. Even ChatGPT agrees with me, so I must be right. However, many consumers won't ask any of us for advice. They may not even want their agent or anyone else connected to the insurer to know what happened. More likely, they'll get online, do a search, and find advice like this from an auto insurance consumer website. Suppose you are at fault in a collision and cause minimal damage to the other driver's vehicle, and the repair cost is reasonable. In that case, you can ask them if you can pay for the repairs yourself instead of filing an insurance claim with your carrier. If the damage is relatively minor and can be paid out of pocket, it may not be worth the hassle or the potential increase in premiums. According to our data, an at-fault accident can trigger an average 57% increase in insurance rates. From a service and E&O standpoint, always advise customers to report claims in accordance with the terms of the insurance contract. Lastly, as I mentioned at the start of this article, some insurers are beginning to require that new drivers of vehicles after policy inception be reported to the insurer in order for coverage to apply. Not just for them, but for all insureds. Boomerang children are increasingly common today. If a child, or even an elderly parent, moves in, there may be no coverage for auto use unless they are reported to the insurer. One such carrier's policy now says, you must notify us if there are changes to any information shown on the declarations or to information that affects eligibility or premium. How would a policyholder know what information affects eligibility or premium? Whether such notice requirements would hold up in court remains to be seen. But in the meantime, be vigilant out there. Till next time. Written by Bill Wilson, CPCU, ARN, AIN. AM is the founder and CEO of InsuranceCommentary.com and the author of 6 books, including the Amazon 4.8 star, When Words Collide, Resolving Insurance Coverage and Claims Disputes, which Book Authority ranks as the #1 insurance book of all time. He can be reached at bill@insurancecommentary.com. Thank you for listening.
Insurance Agents and Brokers is the premier resource and champion for independent insurance agencies in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware. For more information, visit iab4me.com.